Could it be? Me, your me, Louie T. Welcome to Louie T Live, a special edition. NFL free agency has been crazy this year. You haven't had a moment to really rest. Something's happening every single night. And the new league year hasn't even started yet. It doesn't start until tomorrow. Amazing. But nonetheless, bombshell trade that has rocked the NFL to its core. And yesterday, I threw out a one-liner. All right? I threw out a one-liner towards the end of my free agency frenzy breakdown yesterday of the first day of the tampering period. And I said, oh yeah, and the Giants are talking about potentially trading Odell Beckham. The 49ers are interested. And someone said, the Giants are going to trade Odell Beckham. I said, hey, don't worry about it. You know how these things go. They throw out rumors. Don't believe everything you hear. But yeah, you know, the Giants tried to move him last year. And then, I don't know. But it was a one-liner. It was a throwaway line. We got out of it. And here we are today. Giants trade Odell Beckham Jr. Shame on you if you step to the old dirty Beckham. ODB. Gone. Off to Cleveland. Cleveland? Yes, the Browns. Hey, don't sleep on the Browns, man. Don't sleep on the Browns, man. Here they come. Here they come to Cleveland. Do the Giants trade Odell Beckham? In exchange, the Giants will receive a 2019 first rounder, 17th overall. A 2019 third rounder. The Browns have 2 third-round picks. They'll get the second of those 2 third-round picks. And in addition, they throw in Jabril Peppers, the safety out of Michigan that I thought played his best football last year, but for where he was drafted, sort of a disappointment if you're the Cleveland Browns. But I always said that I wasn't a huge Jabril Peppers fan. I always thought he was a man without a true position. When you looked at him at Michigan, he was a playmaker. He wasn't a definitive linebacker. He wasn't a definitive safety. His punt return skills were overrated because he wasn't that fast and he wasn't that shifty. So, you know, he dominated in a Big Ten that is slow. And I always talk about how fast are you really? And it's not like Jabril Peppers is slow. The man ran a sub 4.5, I believe, at the combine. Nonetheless, and he's very athletic. Don't get it twisted. But I thought the hype surrounding him was a little bit more than what he brought to the table. And I thought he took advantage of a Big Ten conference that, for all intents and purposes, isn't that athletic. And if you have some athleticism and you play at Ohio State or you play at Michigan, you're going to dominate, okay? So I wasn't all that impressed with Jabril Peppers, but I thought he started to come into his own. And I tell people this all the time. You guys love throwing the B word around. And I say, look, every player is different. No 2 players are alike. Each are like snowflakes. You don't know when a player is going to start to get it. When that light bulb is going to come on and the guy all of a sudden gets it. You don't know when a guy's going to mature in this league. I said maturity in life, not just football, not just sports, in life. Everyone matures at a different rate. And I felt the same way with Jabril Peppers. And I thought he started to get it last year, and the light bulb was starting to come on, and he was starting to be more comfortable in his skin in this league. And voila, boom, he's gone. He's off to New York. And we'll look at it from the Giants' perspective in a bit, but I want to focus on the Browns because you look at this Browns team, and it's amazing that Odell Beckham Jr. and Jarvis Landry, Juice, and ODB are once again reunited. Reunited, and it feels so good. Reunited, because you've understood. They're reunited. They wanted this all along. I bet in the offseason they talk about playing on the same team, and here they are, best friends on the same team. And the AFC North is in trouble because we saw Baker Mayfield making plays last year off schedule. We saw Baker Mayfield start to come into his own. He's playing with an abundance of confidence. Now you add in the fact that you got Nick Chubb playing at a very high level. They love him as a running back there and all of the things that he brings to the table. You look at the tight end position, and we think Njoku is starting to really get it. I really like David Njoku, even though he's very inconsistent. I like him nonetheless. I also like Seth DeValve. So you got some tight ends to play with there. And then you look at the receiver position and what that's becoming in Cleveland. And Jarvis Landry, you add in a guy like Odell Beckham Jr. Really, you don't need anything else, but you've got a number of other receivers that can make plays for you that are young on that football team. I think the Browns offensively have a really big ceiling next season. And again, it will really hinge upon the next step for this defense. And you look at this team and the way it's configured, no more Greg Williams. How does that shape out in Cleveland? Does this defense take a step backwards, or do they continue forward with the talent that they have? And if they can start to get some offensive production on a consistent basis, and with Odell Beckham, I'd like to think that that's going to be the case. Now with Jarvis Landry on one side, Odell Beckham on the other, David Njoku, and all of the other weapons that you have in Cleveland, this is a dangerous football team. And they're essentially pushing their chips into the center of the table. And I've talked about this before. I talked about it on my podcast. If you haven't checked it out, Louie T Network podcast, available on Stitcher, iTunes, Google Music Play, TuneIn, and of course the website, louietnetwork.net. Again, I've talked about this all the time, that you have the ability to strike while the iron is hot when you have a quarterback on a rookie deal. That's when you can do something like this. That's when you can take on a contract like Odell Beckham Jr.'s. That's when you can take on a contract like the one you gave out to Jarvis Landry last year. That's when you can start to do some of the things and have the flexibility that you have. You got Myles Garrett on a rookie deal. You got Baker Mayfield on a rookie deal. You got Nick Chubb on a rookie deal. You got David Njoku on a rookie deal. That's when you can take advantage of this opportunity and go out and do some of the things that you see the Browns doing and some of the moves that they're making. They've traded a lot of these players, and they've gotten all this draft capital. They've traded back in drafts. They've acquired all this draft capital, and it's netting them opportunities to be aggressive, going after players that can help them. And again, it's not like they're trading for guys outside of their prime. Jarvis Landry, in the prime of his career, ODB. Shame on you if you step to the old dirty Beckham. In the prime of his career, he's 1 year, 2 years now, 1 year into that new deal he just signed last year, when we thought that the Giants were potentially going to trade him. And the Patriots, we heard later on that the Patriots were hot on his trail and on the pursuit of one ODB. And the Giants said, hell no, not trading him to you. So again, this is a big trade for the Browns. It gives them that, because we love Jarvis Landry and what he brings to the table, but he's no speed demon. He doesn't threaten you over the top. He doesn't scare you. Now you add in a guy like ODB. You got juice. And Brashad Perriman played well for the Browns last year. Maybe a change of scenery was what he needed. They just inked a new 1 year, $4 million deal with him to see if he can't duplicate what he did last year for them. And all of a sudden now, like I talked about with all the skill guys, it looks very scary in Cleveland for the rest of the AFC North. Meanwhile, you look at the defensive side, and you got Denzel Ward, and I was wrong about Ward. And I told you, I'll be the first to tell you when I'm wrong, and I'll be the first to tell you when I'm right. Denzel Ward is a player, and I didn't think he was, not worthy of the 4th overall pick. And they may have gotten that right. You look at what they've got on that football team, and Jannard Avery is a guy that came on last year as a rookie, and you look at Myles Garrett, and you look at this football team, they shed themselves of dead weight with guys that were making too much money, a la Jamie Collins. And so this team is moving in the right direction. I really feel like the Browns, if they can figure out the offensive line, put the right 5 guys in front of Baker Mayfield and figure that thing out. Remember, these two teams had a trade earlier in this process. They traded, don't forget, they added another pass rusher on this team, did the Browns, in Olivier Vernon from the Giants. So these two teams have been trading players. And in exchange, the Browns shipped off a guy that they signed in free agency just a couple of years ago from the Cincinnati Bengals, and that was a big get in Kevin Zeitler. So we've seen these two teams swap players. They're doing it again, and this is an even bigger trade than the one that sent Olivier Vernon to the Browns. And so the Browns are shaping up to be a dangerous team in the AFC North, and this trade solidifies that with them getting ODB from the Giants and moving Jabril Peppers and a 1st and a 3rd in this year's draft. You look at it from the Giants' perspective. I'm not a Dave Gettleman fan. You know how I feel about Dave Gettleman. He destroys football teams. I'm not saying, I'm just saying, looks like he's gutting this team from within. But I've said this again on my podcast. I talk about this all the time. You know how I feel about GMs when they come into a situation. They want to put their thumbprint on that team and on that roster and on that organization. GMs have egos. I've said this a million times. When a guy comes into a situation, he wants to say, we're winning because of me and the guys that I brought here. I don't want to win with your guys. Now, if you got some elite stuff and that those guys play well and they fit into what you're trying to do and they buy in, you're not going to move those guys. But in the case of an Odell Beckham or an Olivier Vernon or, again, I don't know what the hell Dave Gettleman's doing this year. Why didn't you re-sign Landon Collins? And don't talk to me about the deal that he got from Washington. He wouldn't have got that deal if you wouldn't have led him to free agency. This guy had you franchise tagged Landon Collins and offered him a 5-year, $60 million deal. You think he would have turned that down? He would have took $12 million. All right? He didn't know he was worth $14 million per until you allowed him to hit free agency. So miss me with the deal that he got, there's no way the Giants are going to be. He would have taken less. Guys take less when they stay home, when you offer them. Again, guys want the insurance of knowing they have security. And again, I'm saying take less, and I'm talking about $12 million per year. He would have taken that. Remember, the safety market wasn't going to be this crazy money grab until the Redskins gave Landon Collins the deal that they did. Had Landon Collins gotten a $12 million deal, he probably would have taken it, okay? The highest paid safety in the league was $13 million. Maybe he takes a deal for $13 and a half, and you offer him a 5-year, $75 million deal, he probably takes that. And that's a solid deal. Again, the cap is going up every year. What you used to pay safeties, what you used to pay running backs, what you used to pay linebackers, the game has changed. Guys are getting astronomical contracts. So you need to get out of this whole thought process of that's too much money for ... Guys are getting broken off, and I told you, we just saw Trent effing Brown be the highest paid offensive tackle in NFL history. Wake up, people. The game has changed. And so Landon Collins would have still been a Giant, but Dave Gettleman obviously didn't think he needed to be a Giant anymore. Odell Beckham, I could honestly see why this move was made. He talked openly about not wanting to be in New York and how he'd like to be somewhere else. And if a guy doesn't want to be there, fine. But the way I see it, you had Odell Beckham Jr. You got Saquon Barkley last year. You're going to get a young quarterback this year. That could have been your big three moving forward for years to come. That could have been... Look, I can tell you as a Redskins fan in the NFC East, ODB scares the shit out of me, the holy living hell out of me. Every single time he steps on the field, every time he touches the football, I hold my breath collectively. And as Redskins fans, I think everywhere hold their breaths collectively. We're excited that he's getting the hell out of the division because this guy is a lightning rod, and anytime he touches it, he can take it the distance. And so I don't believe in getting rid of players like that. I don't believe that the Steelers did the right thing by getting rid of Antonio Brown. I don't believe in, you have to figure out a way to make those guys stay. And in this particular case, I didn't think that you needed to move Odell Beckham Jr., but again, he wants to build this team in his own image. And so he's looking to turn this roster over, and all of the guys that help them win moving forward are going to be Dave Gettleman guys. It's the same thing he did in Carolina, getting rid of Steve Smith and a bunch of guys in Carolina. Josh Norman is one of the guys he got rid of. Again, you can say what you want, but a lot of those moves were unnecessarily made, and he's doing it again. Now, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt here, and I want to see what he does. You've got the third overall pick in this draft, or sixth, excuse me. You have the sixth overall pick. I want to see what you do with 6, and now you have 17. I want to see what you do. I want to see how you replenish this roster. So you let Landon Collins go, and you replace him with Jabril Peppers, and you think that's an even trade, a trade-off there. I beg to differ, okay? You're talking about a guy that's been to 3 Pro Bowls in 4 years and has been a first-team All-Pro in the league. Meanwhile, Jabril Peppers is just figuring shit out. I don't think it's an even money trade, but you're getting a guy on a rookie deal that's not going to cost you a bunch of money right now. Okay, we'll see what Jabril Pepper develops into in New York. Maybe he starts to shine and maybe he blows up and maybe you made the right move. We'll find out. Again, I'm going to give Dave Gettleman the benefit of the doubt here to see how this all turns out, because I think you're going to get a quarterback at 6. Maybe you got to move up to get the guy you like. If you like Haskins, maybe you got to go to 3 and trade with the Jets. Maybe you have to move up, because I don't think you can sit at 6 and expect a quarterback to just fall in your lap. I just don't. So I think if you want a Dwayne Haskins or Drew Lock or whoever tickles your fancy at 6, I think you're going to have to move up to maybe 3 to get that guy. In any event, what are you going to do at 17? And what do you do with these picks? Do you package up these picks? Does this move mean that this is a precursor to packaging up 6 and 17 to move up to number 3 to get your guy? Maybe. Maybe you just got an insurance policy to make sure that if you need a little bit more gunpowder, a little bit more ammunition to move up to get your quarterback, you got everything you need to do exactly that, and you don't have to mortgage future drafts in order to do so. Maybe that's the thought process. I want to make sure I get my quarterback, and I'm going to position myself to do so. If the guy that I want falls into my lap, great, but I don't want to sit and wait. I don't want to sit on my hands and wait to see if someone's going to trade in front of me to take the guy that I want. I'm going to go get the guy that I want. Now I got more ammunition to do so. So again, I want to see what Dave Gettleman does and how he builds his football team. I'm not going to criticize him. I've been hypercritical of Dave Gettleman. I do not like this move because Odell Beckham Jr., it's hard in this league to find game breakers. Not game changers, not difference makers, game breakers. This guy can single-handedly take over a game and win you a football game. It's hard to find those guys. Same thing with Antonio Brown. Now, again, we haven't seen those types of players win you Super Bowls, but those guys win you games. And so I can tell you this much. The jury's out on this trade. We're going to find out just what Dave Gettleman has in store for this Giants roster. I'm not a Dave Gettleman fan, as I've said before, so I don't necessarily love this move, but I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and see where this goes. They get Kevin Zeitler earlier in the week. They look like they're trying to put some things together on that football team. We're going to see what the Giants look like, because, again, you just took the reason Saquon Barkley is able to have some of the success. Yes, the guy is uber talented. You know how I feel about Barkley. I talked about him glowingly all last year. But the reason why it was so easy for him to run at times last year was because you had to realize that 13 was going to be somewhere on the field, and you needed to know at all times where 13 was. And you couldn't bring that 8th defender in the box because you were scared to death of the speed of 13. And if ODB got loose, you were in trouble. So you had to keep that other defender back deep. And that gives Saquon Barkley all the space he could ask for to make plays. And, it didn't take much for him to break off a 70-yard run. And so that changes now. And I'm going to tell you right now, with the receivers coming into this draft, there aren't many, unless you're getting Hollywood Brown. You're not going to find many of these bigger receivers that are going to blaze. Obviously, DK Metcalf is a blazer, but most of these guys aren't blazers, all right? A.J. Brown can run. He's not a blazer, all right? We saw Hakeem run fast. He's not a blazer, all right? The kind of speed Odell Beckham Jr. has changes games. There's only one guy in the draft at the receiver position that does that with the same kind of package, and that's Hollywood Brown. So you're going to lose something offensively by moving on from, and maybe you think Corey Coleman is going to help. Look, we're talking about too many ex-Browns, too many ex-Giants in this video. Let's get to the comment section and see what you guys think about this deal. Odell Beckham Jr. moving on to Cleveland. Let's get to your comments. Gregory Lightbody says, should the Skins be scared of this deal? Why should the Skins be afraid of this deal? Why would... I'm ecstatic. Get him the hell out of the division. I don't give a shit who they draft, okay? Get Odell Beckham the hell out of the division, all right? Gregory Lightbody says, even if the Giants do draft a quarterback, who is he throwing to? Corey Coleman. He's throwing the football to Corey Coleman. That's who he's throwing the football to. RG3 hashtag says, we lit out here. We might be the team that can beat the Patriots. Hey, look, man. Hey, slow down. Slow down. I just want to get to know you. I just want to know your roster and your team first and see what you're made of before you start talking crazy. The talent is there. It's undeniable that the talent's there. But slow down. Let's just see what you got, okay? I need to see this gel. A lot of people, we get excited about these moves made in March, and you don't think about the aspect of continuity. You got to allow these guys to gel together. You think Odell's just going to step on the field and Baker are going to have synergy right away? No, it takes time. You got to allow this thing to find a way to meld and gel together. It's going to be interesting to see how long that takes. But once they get on the same page and they start to figure some shit out offensively as a cohesive unit, the Browns then would be a team to be reckoned with in the AFC. They're dangerous on paper, though, for sure. Gregory Lightbody says 49ers just traded for D Ford. And so I'm going to do a video on that right after we're done here. So I'm going to try to cut this one short, get to as many comments as possible, and I want to jump into D Ford to the 49ers. That's a big deal. And then they gave him brand new, fresh money. So we'll talk about D Ford and his new destination in San Francisco. Larry G's the best says, we can't laugh at the Browns no more because they look like they are for real and ready to compete. I agree with that wholeheartedly. The 20th Mike says, what's good, Louie T? What a big win for us Skins fan. In fact, it feels like the whole NFC East is catching a break. I couldn't agree with you more. Get his ass the hell out of Dodge because he was tearing shit up in the division when he was healthy. RG3 hashtag says, do you feel bad for the Giants? Because I don't. No, you know I don't feel bad for the Giants. And maybe they love this trade. Maybe they love the fact that Landon Collins is gone and now the next day they get rid of Odell Beckham Jr. Maybe they love the fact that Olivier Vernon is no longer a Giant. Maybe they love the direction that Dave Gettleman is taking this team in. I don't personally, but I'm not a Giants fan. So it doesn't bother me one bit, but I don't like what Dave Gettleman is doing personally. But we'll see. He probably has a plan, and that's why I'm going to give him a chance to put this thing together before I start to criticize. Larry G's the best says Saquon is thinking about retiring. He's the star in New York. He's the face of the franchise. So all they did was clear space now. There's no more Odell Beckham Jr. for him to compete with for airtime. He's the man in New York. That's who they're going to build around. Hopefully they get him a quarterback now, and we'll see what happens. The 20th Mike says Giants just dug a hole for themselves. It's a mighty dip. Thank you, Browns organization, he says. Rodney Ray says, I knew we were going to do an emergency live stream. NFL players' current future. If they're trying to get paid, stay away from Gettleman. Stay far away. Gettleman is the anti GM when it comes to getting paid. You saw Josh Norman's tweet about people getting paid when they get away from Gettleman. If you're looking to get paid, that's what you got to do. And I was shocked that they paid Odell Beckham Jr. last year. I thought they were going to cut him loose then. I thought they were going to trade him because Gettleman, that's his MO. He plays hardball. He likes to have authoritative control over the roster, and he doesn't want guys speaking out. And so I thought Odell was gone last year. I was shocked that he was able to stay around. But Sean Mack, I was dying to hear from you. Hope you're feeling much better. Dying to hear your thoughts on this trade. He says, I can't believe that we traded for OB Jackass. Personally, I do not like his attitude and temper tantrums. However, now that he's a Cleveland Brown, I hope he brings us a title. He's got that kind of talent. I understand your angst with his temper tantrums, as you mentioned, and you know, he can be a little temperamental. Absolutely. Same thing can be said about Juice. Both of these guys can be head cases at times. But however, both of those guys are exceptional talents. Keep that in mind as well. BE says, holy shit. The Giants and the Browns broke Twitter with this trade. And again, they had another trade earlier in the week. Nobody cares about that trade now after this trade. And yeah, Twitter was on fire after this trade went down. Jonathan Delmos super chatted me. Thank you so much, Jonathan, for the super chat. He says, damn, Lou, we're going to be the bottom feeders for years to come. We take the cap hit and Eli shaking my damn head. Look, man, I don't know what the hell Gettleman is doing. I'd love to hear from Giants fans on what he's done over the last 72 hours, trading for Kevin Zeitler, getting rid of Olivier Vernon in the process, allowing Landon Collins to walk, and now trading Odell Beckham Jr. Rodney Ray says, the Browns are trying to go on a Rams Super Bowl run, hopefully with a more favorable outcome, Baker playing the role as Goff. So the difference here is when the Rams last year pushed all the chips to the middle of the table and started going all out, they had won the division and went to the playoffs the year before. You can't skip steps. I've already told you guys this. You can't skip steps in this game. You got to crawl before you can walk. You got to walk before you can run. They didn't make the playoffs last year. They don't necessarily have to win the division to be in the AFC Championship game, but you got to make the playoffs first, and you can't skip steps. So I'm just telling you that maybe this is the year that they finally break through, make the postseason, maybe win a game while they're there, but I don't see them getting all the way to the Super Bowl. That's not what this does. This gives them a chance to be a 11-5, 12-4 team, look dominant, but you need that postseason experience, and none of those guys on that team have any for the most part. Odell Beckham has played in all of one postseason game, and it was a quick exit versus the Green Bay Packers. Jarvis Landry, I think, has played in all of one postseason game. When they won the division in Miami in Adam Gase's first year, that was a one-and-doner there. You don't have a lot of experience on this football team. So, and Baker hasn't played in any playoff games, obviously. So I don't see them all of a sudden having this meteoric rise to the Super Bowl, but I do see them being a threat to make the postseason this year. Sean Mack says, my fellow Browns fans need to slow down a little bit here. OBJ is a top 5 receiver in his league, but the games still need to be played. I couldn't agree with you more, Sean Mack, which is what I'm trying to explain to everybody. You got my man RG3 hashtag talking about contending with the Patriots. Slow down. Relax. Be easy. All right? Nick Riley says, the Browns are flat out killing the game, Lou, making moves left and right. They're going to run the AFC North for years to come and flat out finesse the Giants. Now, keep in mind, they've got a window of opportunity. That's why they're trying to strike now. Once all of these deals are up, Baker's deal, Nick Chubb's deal, before they even get to any of those guys, they're going to have to make a decision on their defensive end. So they've got a window of opportunity for the next 4 years, essentially, really 3 until they've got to start talking to Baker about an extension and keep him in Cleveland if he's the guy that they think he is. So they're not going to run the AFC North for the next decade. I mean, we know these windows are quite short in the NFL, and really, you only have a window while you have a rookie contract quarterback. Once that quarterback gets paid, then you got to start cutting bait other places, and the roster isn't as talented, and some of the guys that you want to keep, you can't. So they've got a window from now till Baker has to be extended, and maybe it's even shorter than that. Maybe it starts with, and I think you could get away with extending the defensive end. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank with his name, and I just said it like 2 seconds ago, but I think you will have a chance to have that window open until you get to Baker. And then once Baker has to have a deal done, that's when the window probably will start to close. It won't close immediately, but it'll start to close at that point. Sean Mack says, OB Jackass and Vernon. That's straight up highway robbery. It is indeed too great. I mean, the NFC East is rejoicing. I can't speak for anybody else in the division, but Olivier Vernon used to give Trent Williams fits. So to see this guy go and not have to deal with his stinking ass anymore, and Odell Beckham Jr. is a freak of nature to not have to deal with his ass anymore and just say, all right, we just got to stop Saquon's ass. I feel good about that. I feel damn good about that. Sean Mack says, finally, I'm more shocked that YouTube finally dinged me for your upcoming video than the trade itself. Laughing my ass off. I don't know what's the deal with that. Nick told me that he hadn't been getting notifications at times too. I don't know what's going on with that. Nick also says, Browns got Sheldon Richardson on a steal. He said, got to believe the Giants are going to target a QB at 6 and a wide receiver at 17. The wide receiver core is the ugliest shit I've ever seen in my life. They've got to do something there. And I wouldn't be shocked if 17 is in fact where they look to target a receiver. And there'll be plenty of guys available at 17. So that'll be interesting to see what they decide to do there. Sean Mack says, my cousin just texted and said, maybe the Giants should take DK at 6, AJ at 17. That's something to think about. But then what do you do with the quarterback position? I think they want to get their guy this year because we heard Gettleman at the Combine. And I told you on my podcast, when these GMs and these team presidents and these front office guys speak at the combine, I listen because they generally give you nuggets. You heard from the head coach of the Giants pretty much tell us, okay, Eli's going to be back. That was a question we all had. He said, yep, Eli's going to be back. And then you heard Dave Gettleman double down on Eli being back and said, hey, everybody got to see the Patrick Mahomes model in Kansas City. And I think we love the idea of our quarterback coming in, if we get one, and sitting behind Eli for a year and learning, and then being able to take the mantle over next year. So he's already voiced his opinion on how he feels. And maybe the Giants aren't in love with any of these guys at the top of the draft, and they feel just as good about somebody in the second round, like a Ryan Finley, or maybe they like the quarterback, Will Grier out of West Virginia or something. I don't know. Maybe they like Jarrett Stidham out of Auburn. There's no telling what the Giants are going to do. I still am in the mindset of they're taking the quarterback at 6, and then with this 17th pick now that you've acquired, maybe that's where you start looking at receiver and start to try to build a group there that can grow with your young quarterback. Anwar Muhammad says, looks like the Browns are interested in Earl Thomas. What are your thoughts on his potential fit? He'd be a great fit in Cleveland, but again, Earl is looking for big boy money. Earl wants to be the highest paid safety in the league. If the Browns, I'm not looking to do that right now. You know, I got enough big contracts on my hands. I've already talked about you having to pay guys in the future. You don't want to mortgage the future for, you know, a chance in the present time when you're not ready yet. It'd be one thing if the Browns won the division last year and now they feel like sort of like the Rams last year. The Rams won the division. They got a taste of the postseason. They didn't have the experience. They bowed out in the first round. And so they said, all right, let's go get us some guys that have postseason experience. Let's go get us some guys that can get us over the top and see if we can't win this thing. And then they went out and got all the reinforcements. The Browns aren't there yet. And so I wouldn't want to get a guy like Earl Thomas and have to break the bank to get him. There's just too many guys. You're already paying Odell Beckham now. You're already paying Jarvis Landry. You're going to have to pay other guys. You just paid Sheldon Richardson. You got to pay. You're paying Olivier Vernon now. You don't want to overdo it. Some of these contracts are going to expire, like the Sheldon Richardson deal is a 3-year deal. That's going to be up before Baker gets his money. They're not stupid. They're setting all this stuff up so that they know they're in a position when Baker's deal is ready to be done, that they'll be in a financial position to do it. But again, Earl Thomas deal, maybe you get him on a 3-year deal. Maybe you get him on a 3-year, $45 million deal, which would satisfy him being here in an amount of time that will get him out of there contract-wise before Baker's up. And it gives him the satisfaction of being the highest paid safety in the NFL at $15 million per. So maybe you could satisfy that with Earl Thomas. You ask me about his fit, he'd be a tremendous fit anywhere he goes. Earl Thomas fits in any NFL defense. Nick Riley says, if I'm the Giants, I take Haskins or whoever their guy is at 6, and then at 17, I'm taking N'Keal Harry. Never, ever trust a man with 2 first names. Rodney Ray says, however, I've learned long ago, big moves, big names, big spending in the offseason doesn't always mean postseason success. For every 2018 Rams, there are the 2011 Eagles, 2010 Vikings, 2003 Bucks, etc. Exactly. Again, and that's why I talk about continuity and gelling and meshing together. That's underrated in this league, and fans a lot of times omit that part of the process. They just see the names, they see what these guys are capable of, they put them on one team, they look at that on a sheet of paper and say, man, this team is loaded, but they don't realize that these guys have to come together on one accord and play as one, play for each other. There has to be continuity there, and if it's not, if that component is missing, then you're going to lose games. You're going to have to find a way to learn how to win as a team, and we'll see what happens. Reese says, craziest offseason ever, and it's only just begun. I know we live in the here and now, and we're prisoners of the moment, but this has been a really crazy offseason. I won't say it's the craziest offseason ever, but this has been a crazy offseason to say the least. DMV fan 123 says, Bruce Allen may not be the dumbest GM in the NFC East, let alone the NFL, especially if they're going to really take Daniel Jones like they're rumored to now. And remember, Daniel Jones is an Eli Manning clone, essentially, in terms of his demeanor. He went to the Manning's camp. He was coached by the same coach that coached both Eli and Peyton. Everyone seems to think that he's going to be an Eli Manning type at the next level, just with more athleticism. If they take Daniel Jones, I will stand up and give Dave Gettleman the biggest round of applause that you can give a man that doesn't have anything to do with your organization, because I would have watched him single-handedly take the Giants organization and throw it in the toilet and flush it if he takes Daniel Jones at 6 or at 17. He'll be there at 17 if you ask me. Daniel Jones isn't going anywhere. No one's enamored with Daniel Jones except the Giants potentially. So hopefully not the Redskins either. But he can have Daniel Jones. Knock yourself out, because I'm not in love with Daniel Jones whatsoever. Chuck Sharp says Browns better not disappoint next season. Again, do not take this Browns team and just automatically give them the AFC North. The Ravens, who won the division last year, and the Steelers both have something to say about how the outcome of this division will go as well. The Cubone says, I damn near fell out of my chair when I heard the news. I think everyone was stunned when they heard this news. I was moving, packing up shit, trying to get ready to go, and this happened. I can't get a good moving flow together because shit keeps happening. God damn it. Let me move in peace, NFL. Reese says, Lou, I was checking the NFL news at one point, and it was radio silent. So I make myself some dinner, watch a movie, I pick up my phone, and it explodes. Man, that sounds like how it goes, man. I looked at my phone, there was nothing there, a bunch of little moves or whatever. So I keep moving, and then my girl says, babe, she's running out, and I'm thinking something's wrong. She's hysterical. She's like, babe. So I'm running out, I'm like, what's going on? The Giants traded Odell Beckham. I'm like, what? No way. And I look at her phone, and sure enough, he's a Brown, and I'm like, well, looks like I got a video to do. So here we are. KT, the Southern Gent, says, LSU teammates back together, and I mentioned that at the top of the show. Redskins 24/7 says, damn, I was really hoping to see Landon Collins knock Odell on his ass twice a year. LOL, great pickup for the Browns. No, I actually wasn't looking forward to seeing that. I'm glad his ass is gone. Good riddance. Nick Riley says, you're a fool, fam, and said Cleveland like you or Soldier Boy. Skinny Wild says, glad he won't be roasting our Josh Norman anymore for sure. I'm on board with that 100%. But let's not forget the Browns are still the Browns. They will find a way to sabotage themselves. Mark my words. I don't know about that this time around. They're doing things the right way. We'll see what happens. 24/7, Redskins says, D Ford trade definitely got overshadowed by this for sure. But I'm not going to allow it to go without having it be recognized. I'm going to make sure I do a stream on that next. Black LB says, where's Shizzy Mac? I know he's happy as F about the Browns. LOL. He's up here, man. Jarrett Coleman says, hey, there is a football god. Not only did we get Landon Collins, we also got Odell out of the division. Good riddance, HTTR. I told you Redskins fans would be ecstatic about this for sure. Justin Barnett says, now the Browns are talking to Earl Thomas. NFL, look out. Yes. If they get Earl Thomas, and I personally would be in the market of a 3-year deal for Earl, because, again, I want all these deals off the books before Baker becomes eligible for that deal in 3 years from now. So if I'm the Browns, everything's like Sheldon Richardson's deal. Everything's a 3-year deal, all right? I think Juice was signed to, a 5-year deal? They probably can get out before Baker's up. Odell Beckham Jr.'s deal probably can get out before Baker's up, even though I don't know if you want to or not. We'll see what happens. Again, put yourself in a position that Myles Garrett can get his deal, Baker can get his deal, and you don't have to be the Raiders like last year where you got to start blowing shit up because you paid Derek Carr. Now all of a sudden you look up, you don't have enough money for Khalil Mack. Let's not F things up. Do it the right way. And so if you're going to get Earl, make sure Earl is in and out of here before it becomes a problem. 20th Mike says, this is an upgrade for the Giants or a big nosebleed because I didn't see that the Giants had a first and a third round in the draft. Like I said, I'm not going to kill the Giants. I want to see what they do. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I am giving you the benefit. I'm going to give him the benefit, all right? Giving you a minute to try to work it on out. I'm giving him the benefit, all right? Now, he's on a short leash, is Dave Gettleman. Because if he F this up, the benefit is gone, all right? And I'm going to tear him a new asshole. I've done it before. I will do it again. If they take Daniel Jones, I'm going to tear him a new asshole. If they don't get these picks right, 3 years from now, we look back at this trade, I'm going to tear him a new asshole. He probably won't be around anymore. He F's this up, he may not be a general manager in the league again. Because he tore Carolina to shreds. Marty Hurney is trying to put that shit back together now. And he's doing the same thing to the Giants. He is a destructive force from within. But again, I'm going to give him the benefit. I am giving him the benefit. I'm going to let him try to work it on out. But if he F's this up, his ass is on the hook. Andrew Decal says, them Browns, boy, hella lit right now. OBJ, Juice, Chubb, Kareem Hunt, and Baker. I'll take the Browns. The 2019 he says, AFC North champs. We will see. I'm not going that far quite yet, but they are definitely strong on paper again. Reese says, just 2 years ago, the Browns were 0-16 and the laughing stock of the league. The NFL is set up for you, if you do it correctly, to get back on your feet very quickly. Unlike basketball or baseball, where you've got to stink for 5 to 7 years to get back on your feet, the NFL is set up for you to get back on your feet quickly. You slipping, you falling, you got to get back on your feet so you can tear shit up. And if you do it correctly like the Browns have done, look, I don't want to sit here and praise the Browns because they have been horrible for a long time. They have put in tons of work to get to this point. Lots of years of crying and tears of being awful. All right? Not once, but twice they've been the laughing stock of the league. 1-15, 0-16. All right? They've put in their work, their fair share of work to get here. All right? But make no mistake about it. Now they're taking advantage of all of the shit that they've done to put themselves here. They're taking advantage of it now, finally. J. Camman says, they should only be allowed to do all of this in a 6-hour span. Every time I turn off a TV, a trade goes down. It is ridiculous. J. Camman says, even though the Bills have signed some receivers, we still don't have a number one. We tried, but AB said no. I know that one hurt. That one stung big time. Storm says, bad move by New York. Awesome for the Browns. The Giants don't have a plan. Do that. Again, Gettleman may have a plan. And again, he's got picks. He's got 6. He's got 17. He's got a 2nd round pick. He's got 2 now in the 3rd. I'm going to, okay, so he's got 2. He's got 5 picks in the top 100. I don't know if the Giants have any compensatory picks. They may have another 3rd rounder in there somewhere, maybe. Bottom line is, he's got 5 or 6 picks in the first 100 picks in a draft that is extremely deep. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt to build this roster up the way he wants to, and we're going to see how this thing plays out. Again, if he doesn't get this right, then we can kill him. I'm not going to kill him right now. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. Emperor Meat says, I'm not mad, but I can say this. The Giants fans who wanted him gone are going to start bitching. They better have a plan. They don't, or else it's going to be bad in New Jersey, he says. He says, going to be bad. And I tell you this much. If they don't have a plan, and that again, I just said this again, and I'm going to say it once more. I got to believe he's got a plan. I can't believe that he's doing this all willy-nilly. Browns gave him an offer he couldn't refuse, and so he decided to pull the trigger. No, he's got a plan. I think he knows what he wants to do. And as Nick said, I think quarterback at 6, receiver at 17, and you start to fill in the blanks as you go. And we'll see if that's the direction that they decide to go in. But it's not looking good right now. But again, you got to wait and see. We're always so fast to come to judgments on situations without getting all of the facts. We don't know how this is going to turn out because we don't know what Gettleman's going to do with all of the draft capital that he now has. We will see what happens with this Giants football team. All right. Cooking with Chef Ty says, what are the Redskins going to do during free agency, and do you think the Giants are going after a receiver in the draft? I think it's mandatory that they go after a receiver after this deal. J. Camman says, Peppers is no Collins. Fact. Gregory Lightbody says, I hope the Giants keep Gettleman as long as Bruce Allen. I second that. J. Camman says, where do you think Tyrod Taylor ends up and Ryan Fitzpatrick will end up? I think Tyrod ends up in Miami. after they were shunned by Teddy Bridgewater. I think they have to turn their attention to now a guy like Tyrod. Fitzpatrick, same deal. I think the Dolphins are in a position now where they at least need a veteran on their team. They're still probably, much like the Redskins, going to be aggressive in the draft, looking to draft a quarterback. But they still need a veteran on that football team because I think they want to part ways with Ryan Tannehill. Reese says, thoughts on Ty Nsekhe leaving. Ty Nsekhe, quality backup, one of the better backup tackles in the league, but he's old. And the Redskins drafted a young tackle last year in the 3rd round that they want to develop. And in order for him to develop, you had to allow a guy like Ty Nsekhe to move on. So that's that. John Niner says, diva wide receivers don't win Super Bowls. So I think it was a wise move by the Giants. While I hear you, and while that is a fact, bottom line is you don't get rid of guys that can win you football games unless you have a plan. And that's why I said we're going to see what Dave Gettleman has in store. You say that, but you would have been ecstatic if the 49ers, who were rumored to be in the Odell sweepstakes, had traded for him. You would be singing a totally different tune about Odell Beckham Jr. You would have loved him to be on your Niners. So while I hear you, your team is in desperate need of a number 1 wide receiver. And so if I'm the 49ers, and you know what, I'll save that for the live stream later on tonight. I'm going to take a couple more comments and then we'll get out of here. Emperor Meat says, good luck selling those tickets. The Collins situation pissed me off more than this because they didn't trade him rather than free agency. He said they should have at least used the transition tag instead. Well, the transition tag wouldn't have netted you any compensation. It would have given you an opportunity to match. You would have had the right of first refusal. I thought that the Ravens would have used the transition tag on C.J. Mosley so that they would have had a chance to match the deal. If the Giants really wanted Landon Collins, they would have franchised him. And that told me because, again, the safety position doesn't cost you a bunch of money to franchise tag a guy. You wouldn't have been paying $17, $18 million for the safety position. It would have been somewhere around that $10 to $12 million range. And that would have still given you, and Landon wanted to remain in New York. It's not like he wanted to leave. He would have taken 5 years. Because, again, the only reason he got the deal he got is because he hit free agency. He hit the market. The open market allows guys to maximize their worth. He would have taken a 12 per year deal. He would have taken 5 for 12, I believe. He would have definitely taken 5 for 75. The Giants could have done those deals. They elected not to because they didn't want. They at the end of the day, they did not want Landon Collins. Why? From all reports, the guy is a hell of a locker room character guy. Last year, he was dealing with an injury to his shoulder. The Giants stunk. He could have shut it down. He didn't because he wanted to play for his guys. So he's a consummate professional. He's a tough guy. And he's a damn good player. Those are the guys you want in your locker room. So, again, I can't, for the life of me, understand why you don't. It's one thing if you don't want Odell Beckham because he's a head case and a malcontent. And he already voiced he didn't want to be in New York. Okay, you want to get rid of that guy? You got good compensation for him? Fine, I get it. But Landon Collins is the ideal player that you want. He's a good football player first and foremost. Above all else, he's a hell of a football player, but he's an even better guy. In the locker room, he's a leader. He has a C on his chest for a reason. Why would you want to get rid of a guy like that wants to be there? I don't understand that. And that's the kind of stuff that pisses me off. I'm like you. If you want to trade Odell Beckham, fine. But guys like Landon Collins belong and deserve to be in your locker room, and he's no longer there. Why? Because Dave Gettleman didn't want him there. Anyway, Caesar Augustus says, Louie T, watch Le'Veon Bell take a 1-year deal with the Browns to join the bandwagon BS. Browns bandwagon going to be strong in 2019. Le'Veon Bell is not taking a 1-year deal. He sat out in Pittsburgh to avoid a 1-year deal. Don't think for 1 second he's going to take a 1 year. The guy wants long-term security. He wants to be broken off. There's no way Le'Veon Bell, and I know you were saying that tongue-in-cheek, but let me just put that to rest. No way he's taking a 1-year deal anywhere. He's going to get broken off and try to maximize his worth on this contract. Emperor Meach, another comment from a Giants fan, so I'm going to read this. He says, Mara and Gettleman are going to get blasted, and honestly, I am intrigued by seeing the outcomes that this and letting Collins go causes. Fans were already angry at Gettleman getting the job. I told you, Gettleman is, when it comes to GMs, Gettleman is trash. All right. You know how I feel about Gettleman. You knew I did not like him in Carolina. He was awful with the Panthers, if you ask me. He comes into New York, and I thought he was going to leave the roster as is and just build. There was already talent in New York. Just build. And instead, he's tearing it down to try to build it back up, but that didn't have to happen. Olivier Vernon, another good locker room guy and another good football player, when healthy, gone. Again, we'll see. We will see what happens. In any event, let's get out of here. And I'm going to open up another stream on the Kansas City 49ers trade, D Ford to the 49ers. And he gets a big contract there. We'll talk about that on that stream. But I thank you guys for joining me on this stream. And wow, the NFL world turned on its head. As shame on you if you step to the old dirty Beckham. And Dave Gettleman not only stepped to the old dirty Beckham, he then traded him to the Cleveland Browns in exchange for a first, a third, and Jabril Peppers in 2019. Wow, wow, wow. Didn't see that one coming. Heard rumors of Odell Beckham potentially being on the trade market. Didn't believe them for 1 second. Not when you got Barkley, you got Beckham, and now you could add a quarterback. I mean, you could have really had a big-time triple threat there. And instead, you're just left with Saquon Barkley now. Now you got to find a way to draft a quarterback, and we'll see what you decide to do. But again, I am giving Dave Gettleman begrudgingly. I am giving him the benefit. I'm going to give him the benefit. I'm going to tell you right now, though, he better find a way to work it on out, baby, work it on out. You better work it on out, because if he don't, his ass is gone. These are the type of deals to get you fired. This kind of offseason, if the shit doesn't work out fast, these are the kinds of off seasons that get you fired. I'm your man, Louie T. Signing off. Remember, if it's not your man T, it's not the best NFL coverage it could be. I'll be right back with another stream, another big trade. It's been overshadowed by this one, but nonetheless, we're going to talk about it anyway. D Ford on the way to leaving Kansas City on the way to San Francisco. We'll talk about that next. I'll see you guys in a little bit. Have a good one.
Louie T Network.